Well, the chickens are coming home to roost, as they say. You will recall back in the 1980s, in the late 70s and early 80s, you had three different governments come to power in Nicaragua, Guatemala, and El Salvador. In Nicaragua, it was the Sandinistas. They were mildly Marxists. They were mostly kind of patterning themselves after the Scandinavian countries. Although, and there was no military support for any of these groups from Cuba or the Soviet Union or anything like that at that time. But Reagan went nuts. In El Salvador, it was the FMLN. This was a coalition of old leftover leftists. There were actually some Marxists in El Salvador. And in Guatemala, it was the Mayan Indian villages that were the target. Congress tried to stop Reagan. They passed the Boland Amendment that said that he could use no money to support right-wing death squads in these countries. But instead he sold weapons to Iran and took that money and gave it to the right-wing death squads in these three countries. And here's the body count. This from the book President's Body Count by Al Carroll. Over 300, from 500,000 to 1 million Salvadoran refugees fled to the United States. Over 325,000 Central Americans were killed. 200,000 Guatemalans, 75,000 Salvadorans, 50,000 Nicaraguans. 1/5 of the Salvadoran population was displaced. At least 15% of all Guatemalans fled their nation. Genocide in Guatemala was so extreme that it was the only nation anywhere in Latin America to consistently decline in population. 626 Indian villages were massacred. Over 85% of the victims killed were slaughtered by the Guatemalan army, 10% by paramilitary death squads. Reagan holds the ugly distinction of causing the deaths of more native people than any other president in U.S. history. The Guatemalan army carried out scorched earth tactics, starving Mayan Indians out, massacring villages, carrying out deaths by beheading, hacking to death, burning alive, or burying alive. An especially vicious tactic was bashing in the heads of small children on rocks, usually in front of their parents. Mass rapes were epidemic, including targeting pregnant women with rape to cause miscarriages. The Reagan administration was fully supportive of this. The people of all three of these countries eventually said enough already and put in the democratically elected governments, which have, by and large, in all three cases, been overthrown in the last few years. And now we're back to right-wing death squads on the rampage. As Representative Luis Gutierrez pointed out, these 52,000 children without their parents were, quote, fleeing violence and torture, murder, and rape. It is so bad that Glenn Beck, evangelicals, and Catholics have gone down to the border. Glenn Beck took a bunch of soccer balls and teddy bears down there to say, hey, wait a minute, we're better than this. We're better than this. But some folks are still very, very concerned about this. One of them is Dennis Michael Lynch, conservative commentator and filmmaker of They Came to America and They Can't Come to America Too. TheyComeToAmerica.com. His website is MDL, as in Dennis Michael Lynch Daily.com. Dennis Michael Lynch, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Tom. If I could just correct some of the big mistakes you made. It's not they came to America, it's present tense.
They come.
They come to America, thank you. And they continue to come. So I'm listening to your introduction there. And so are you saying that the influx of families coming in from the hundreds of thousands is to be blamed on President Reagan?
To a large extent, yeah. You could put some of the blame on the Eisenhower-Nixon administration, which had also, the CIA and ITT had helped overthrow at least the Honduran government back in the 50s. But, yeah, we were meddling down there. We had United Fruit ran Honduras and Guatemala as basically company stores.
Really? So
you're not familiar with this history?
Oh, no, I am. But you know what? At some point, the liberals are going to have to take accountability for the President of the United States. Perhaps.
What does that mean?
Perhaps Ronald Reagan would have been better served if he went out and played golf when all of the crap hit the fan.
Yeah, instead of being responsible for the death of 500,000 people in Central America, yeah.
Tom, let's take a look at where we are right now today. A question for you. Have you ever interviewed a Border Patrol agent?
Have you ever been in the middle of a?
It wasn't a hard question.
Have you ever been in the middle, Dennis?
I'm asking you a very simple
Dennis,
question.
let me ask you a very simple question first. Have you ever been in the middle? Have you ever been in the middle of?
Why can't you give me the answer? Just it's a yes or no. It's not difficult.
Okay, no, I've never interviewed a Border Patrol agent. Have you ever been in the middle of a humanitarian crisis?
I have.
Where?
There's a place called Park Heights in Baltimore, Maryland. And if you go through there, I kind of got lost on the way to another radio show one day. And when I stopped, I couldn't believe where I was.
Okay.
It looked like I was in a third world nation.
In 1980, I was in Uganda during the war with Idi Amin. We took over the Numala prison farm. We had 52,000 people. They were dying at the rate of 320 a day. Part of my job was digging mass graves with a bulldozer for these people.
Right.
I have seen real humanitarian crises. And that's the kind of stuff that produces refugees.
Not real?
I'm saying that Baltimore is not producing refugees that are a problem for New York City. Guatemala, El Salvador, and Honduras are producing refugees.
What Baltimore is producing and what the Obama administration is producing and what this country as a whole is producing, and I'll put some of the blame on the GOP as well, because I'm on the phone with you. Although I am a conservative filmmaker, I'm an independent. I hold both sides responsible. And Tom, to be quite honest, it's very hard to ever solve problems in this country when simple questions can't be answered. And when I ask you, have you ever interviewed a Border Patrol agent, it wasn't because I want to make you look silly.
I don't see this as a border control issue.
I'm just asking a very simple question. And you took me to Uganda. I'd like to stay in the United States of America for a moment.
Well, this is originating outside the United States of America. This is these.
I don't care where it's originating. It's ending up in the United States of America. And you know what? We already do have a crisis in America. I tried to explain one to you that I've seen firsthand. You asked me if I ever seen one firsthand. I went to go tell you yes. I wanted to tell you about that crisis that's taking place because I'd like to see it solved, especially the fact that the President of the United States is not addressing it. And what you did is you took me to Uganda. I want to go back. I want to ask you very simply, and I'm not looking to argue with you. I like to solve problems. I don't want to create bigger ones. Have you ever spoke to a Border Patrol agent down in South Texas?
Yeah, I've had several of them call into this program.
You have? And
yes.
What have they,
in fact, one of them called in to point out that his uniform was made in Mexico. He thought it was hysterical.
Really?
He was like, they outsourced all of our damn jobs.
I don't think it's hysterical. I would like to see the uniform be created here in the United States.
Yeah, well, that was his point, too. He said they outsourced all of our damn jobs, and here I am, a Border Patrol agent on the Mexican border, and I'm wearing a uniform that has a tag in it that says made in Mexico.
Yeah. Who's they? Who's they?
They was, by and large, Reagan, Clinton, and Bush.
Okay, so we're going to keep on going back. I mean, at some point, are we going to go back to Lincoln?
This is free trade insanity, but this has nothing to do with why you've got death squads operating in El Salvador again.
You've talked to Border Patrol agents, and that's good. So I want to ask you a question. When you talk to the Border Patrol agent, what did he or she say to you about the interrogation that takes place down at the border when these people cross over into the U.S.? What did he say he asks them, and what did he say that they say?
Dennis, this is not you interviewing me. We are having a conversation about this.
You want to talk about Uganda?
Now, come on, stop with the patronizing questions. What is your concern here? You seem to be all bent out of shape about the fact that we've got 52,000 or more kids without parents who've shown up at our border.
I'm bent out of shape about that. I'm also bent out of shape about the hundreds of thousands of families who have also come in over the last couple of months who are now hanging out somewhere in the United States of America, and none of them have been screened for any sort of health diseases.
Guatemala has a national health care system. Their children are better vaccinated than ours. You've got the Guatemalan kids coming across the border. This is well documented. Have a 97% vaccine rate. In Texas, 1 in 5 families has no health insurance because Rick Perry won't expand Obamacare. Their kids don't even get vaccinated. Dennis, we're out of time. People can read all about it at dmldaily.com. Thanks for being with us.